Good afternoon. This is Alex again. We're going through the College Board question bank question by question. Today we are beginning the linear equations in one variable section. So you'll see that description over here on the right hand side. The pip difficulty, this is starting off really hard with 3 pips on the difficulty meter. Hopefully I get it right. But as always, feel free to pause the video before I attempt the question and try it on your own before listening to the description, or at least my attempt at the description. We'll be checking our answers at the end of each video and making sure that we get it right. So we're starting off with number 1 here. F4F is the final 3 digits or characters on the code. That's just for my reference when I grade them. And we'll do about 10 questions today. All right, it's a big old word problem. Linear functions, so linear equations in one variable. We're going to be expecting, before we dive in, let's review our definitions. I haven't read this question yet, but we want to review our definitions. Mx plus b is our slope-intercept form, where m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. M is the same thing as the change in y divided by the change in x, and b occurs when x is 0. The other things to keep in mind, we might want to be using standard form, ax plus by equals c, and that has its own definitions of slope. The slope is equal to negative a over b, and the y-intercept, little b, is c over big B. And then we have point slope form. We have y minus k equals m times x minus h. If you watched all the way to the end of the linear functions video, you'll recognize that that should be a horizontal shift. That should be a vertical shift. So those are some definitions that we will be looking for as we go through our linear equations in one variable. And you would be wise to memorize each of these things and have the language at the ready. So let's dive right in. Number 1, I have to use a tool called an auger to remove corn from the storage bin. Augers are really cool. Look it up. You're on YouTube. Go pause this video. Go watch auger videos. They're really cool. They're big screws that move things. Anyway, the bin contained 24,000 bushels of corn when he began to use the auger. That phrase right there tells us that that is our y-intercept. After 5 hours using the auger, this is a coordinate point right here. So we have the y-intercept at 0, 24,000. And we have another coordinate point at 5, 19, 350. If the auger continues to move the corn at this rate, what is the total number of hours? So what is x when we reach 12, 8, 40? Okay, so we have some coordinate points here. We have y equals, we don't know the m value until we calculate it, m, x, and we know the b value. We know that the y-intercept is 24,000. Cool. So we could try to use Desmos for this, and we are probably going to use a calculator because these are some pretty big numbers here. 24,000 minus, so a change in y over change in x is our definition, remember. So 24,000 minus 19,350 is going to be 4,650, 4,650 over 5. And if you can't do that in your head, don't worry, you can use a calculator, that's fine. And let's see, so that's going to be a decrease and an increase, so that's going to be a negative slope. And I glanced at the answer choices before I started doing this calculation, and I see that we are looking for an x-coordinate, so we are going to just go ahead and chunk through this in the math. All right, so dividing by 5, 4,650 divided by 5, we get 9. 46 divided by 5 is 9 with a remainder of 1. 150 divided by 5 is 30. 930 is our slope, negative 930. X plus 24,000. I'm going to pull up a calculator real quick because I don't trust my mental math. If I were doing this on a real test, I would have just jammed that in a calculator. 4,650 divided by 5, 930. All right, good. Mental math is still there, despite how old I am. All right. And they want to know after, when does it reach 12,840? So we're going to set this equal to 12,840 and do our manipulation here. We're going to subtract 24,000 from both sides. Because whatever you do to one side, you'd have to do the other. Cancels out on the right-hand side. 12,840 minus 24,000 is negative 11,160. Don't let that negative throw you, because our right-hand side, remember, is negative 930. So those negatives are going to cancel out, because we're going to the next thing we're going to do is what, right? We're going to divide by negative 930. And those negative 930s cancel out. We get x equals what? So negative 11,160 divided by 930, negative 930 is 12. So that should be our answer, option D. And that feels like an ending question. You might see that in question 20 through 22 in a module. The ending questions tend to be a bit harder than any of the other ones in the module. All right, question 2, 0f5. Good way to start. All right, we have a linear function in slope-intercept form. P set what value of P? So we're just solving for basically an x-coordinate. It's just algebra here. 5P plus 180 equals 250. Subtract the 180 from both sides. 180, 5P. These cancel. 180 minus, or 250 minus 180. Pardon my terrible handwriting. Is, I believe, 70. Divide by 5. And we get P equals what? What's 70 divided by 5? My brain isn't working tonight. 70 divided by 5 is 14. Is our answer. So that is A. Question 3. We get code BC1. Linear function again in a standard or a slope-intercept form. What is the solution? So again, same kind of thing as we've been doing. I'm noticing a trend on these that it's just basic algebra. Subtract the 5, 4x equals 160. Divide the 4, because that's what we do. Those cancel, we get x equals 40. Moving right along. Again, pause before I do each question. I'm zipping through these because I want to get 10 questions done in less than 20 minutes. Question 4, I want to respect your guys' time here. 3, 4, 2, D, pause the video, give it a shot. And we've got a word problem here. Answer choices is a good place to start. These are in linear form against slope-intercept form. We have different slopes, 16 and 37. We have different y-intercepts, negative 37, 16, and positive 37 and positive 16, all equaling 165. So we know the total is 165 from the word problem here. They say there's a down payment of 37, so that's our y-intercept basically. And they're not saying that we're decreasing by any amount. I see here we're making P monthly payments, so P is the number of monthly payments. It's $60 each. So 16 is occurring each time. So that should be understood to be a slope. And that's going to be C in this case. So our 16 is our rate of growth. It's the per occurrence growth. And the 37 was the like the initial value. The initial or the y-intercept in this case. All right, moving right along. Go ahead and attempt that one. Give it a pause. 6FA. All right. They're saying that K is a constant. I've had so many students get hung up by this phrase that K is a constant. Constant just means that it's a specific number. It doesn't tell us what that number is. It doesn't tell us if it's positive or negative, a whole number, a fraction, a decimal. It doesn't give us any valuable information. So basically just block this from your mind. If they say K is a constant, N is a constant, P is a constant, it doesn't help us. So just ignore it. Just ignore it, okay? I know that's hard to do. It just means that it's a number. We don't know what that number is, so just ignore it. The equation has infinitely many solutions. That phrase tells us something. If this expression has, or this equation has infinitely many solutions, that means that the left-hand side, 3x plus 21, is exactly equal to the right-hand side, 3x plus k. So 3x, of course, is equal to 3x. K must be 21. So 21 is our answer. That phrase right there tells us everything. Infinitely many solutions means that the left-hand side is equal exactly to the right-hand side. And that's a fairly simple one. Question 6, give it a shot. Code 4A6. All right, going into the explanation here. So x is a solution. What is the value of x minus 3? So they don't want x. So first off, we got to make sure that if we solve for x, that we're not done. We got to keep going. We got to plug it back in. But first thing that I'm going to look for is, can I get x minus 3 isolated in this expression and just have that equal to something? And I see x minus 3 in here. So we're going to go ahead and isolate that term. And in fact, I see on the left-hand side that we can factor this. 2x minus 6, we can factor a 2 out of that and get x minus 3 there as well. So I'm just going to copy it down real quick. 3 times 2, x minus 6 minus 11 equals 4. X minus 3 plus 6. I want to get this x minus 3 term by itself, because that is what we are solving for. So I'm going to factor this side first. I'm going to factor a 2 out of that, and we get 3 times 2, x minus 3 minus 11 equals 4, x minus 3 plus 6. And again, I want to leave these x minus 3's alone. I want to try to get them by themselves. So combining like terms, 3 times 2 is 6. X minus 3 minus 11 equals 4. X minus 3 plus 6. Let's see, what can we do next? We can add the 11 over. And we get, and we could, I mean, I'm going to do this in one step. We can subtract 4x minus 3 from both sides. So adding the 11, that cancels. We get 17 on this side. This cancels, and we get 2x minus 3 equals 17. And again, we want to isolate this x minus 3, so I'm going to leave that alone, and we're going to divide by 2. And we're going to get x minus 3 equals 17 over 2. And that is our answer, so it must be B. A trick that I have taught kids in the past is if I see a term repeated like this, and this is what I'm solving for, at this earlier step, what we could have done, if we really wanted to, is we could replace this with a single term like A, and just have like 3 times 2A equals 4A. Like, just replace all of these things with A, and just have one variable there if that's easier to think about. Sometimes it's easier to think about, sometimes it confuses people. If you understand that, replacing it, oftentimes kids who have taken pre-calc or calculus will get their minds around that, because you do that in those classes, is the substitution kind of method. Feel free to do that on this test. All right, moving on to the next one. I forgot what number this is. Number 7. Reaching the 15-minute mark. 94D. All right, we have linear functions in our answer choices again. We have different slopes, either 25 over 4 or 4 over 25, and we have different constant terms as the result. So let's read through and see what we got. I'm going to give you a pause moment here to try it. Difficulty 3 pips. All right, let's go through it. We have 100 miles each week, average of 25 miles. Oh, they stole this from a paper exam. I've actually taught this question for a number of years, but it's been a little while since I've seen it. So let's see if I remember how to do it. Average, so 25 miles per gallon, 25 miles per gallon. And if I am remembering, we're going to end up flipping that. Alan would like to reduce his expenditure by $5. So I want to take the number of dollars I spend and I want to reduce it by 5. Gasoline is $4 per gallon. I'm just inventorying what we've been given here. Not making any equations yet. I'm just kind of tallying it up. $4 per gallon. Which equation can you use to determine how many fewer miles? M. So M is the amount that he's going to reduce it by. So I'm going to take my current travel time distance, 100 miles, minus M. M is the reduction. To reduce this by $5. So 100 miles right now. So let's back up. Let's make a plan before we execute. Let's make a plan here. So if I want to reduce my total cost by $5, not much, but it's worth it to Alan, I suppose. It's a lot of money to some people, I guess. So especially if you're spending $5 a week on it, it adds up. But anyway, I digress. So let's find out what he's currently spending. So he's currently going 100 miles in a week at 25 miles per gallon. So if I multiply this by 1 gallon over 25 miles, that gives me how many gallons he's going to use. Then I can multiply that by the $4 for every 1 gallon. It's like doing stoichiometry in chemistry class. The units of measurement cancel out in such a way. 100 divided by 25 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So he's spending $16 every week right now. We want to bring this down to $11. But I'm not sure that's going to be terribly fruitful for us right now. I'm kind of liking these 5s in my answer choices because I want my reduction in cost to be 5. So I'm kind of tempted to do something with that. But let's go ahead and continue down this path that I've started. So he's currently spending $16 a week. We want to reduce that by 5, so we want to go down to $11 a week, I suppose. So if I reverse engineer that math there, this term stays the same. The cost of the gas doesn't change. The fuel consumption of the vehicle doesn't change. Unless you buy a new car or drive differently. And then the M, the reduction in miles, is going to be what we want to solve for here. So we're going to do 100 minus M. And all that equals 11 now. If we didn't want to solve for this originally, what could we have done? I don't know if you can do it without solving for that original 16. Maybe you can. If you have any thoughts on that, leave a comment in the description below and we'll for sure see it. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. I'm absolutely certain of it. So let's go ahead and distribute through what we've got here and see what we come up with. So reducing the units of measurement again, this is in miles. 100 minus M times 4 ends up in the numerator. We have 25, and the denominator equals 11. Doesn't look pretty so far because it doesn't match any of what we've got yet, other than this like 4 over 25 thing. But let's see if that pans out. So do we want to distribute this? We want to get that 100 off of there. You know what we could do? we could distribute that 4 over 25 times 100 minus 4 over 25 times m equals 11. We already know that 4 over 25 times 100 is 16. 25m equals 11, and that's our equals to 5. Yeah. So add that over, subtract that over, you get 5 equals 4 over 25m. That is a very roundabout way of getting there. I am absolutely 100% certain there's a faster way of doing this one. I just can't think of how, just off the top of my head. Again, that's an old paper format question. I don't know that you would expect to see something quite that convoluted on the digital exam. Digital practice tests in the Blue Book, test 5 and 6, don't tend to have stuff like that, at least not that we've seen. So I wonder. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Man, that took 5 minutes. All right, we have a linear function again. It's a conceptual question. All the answer choices are words. It's just a concept. What's the number 2? That's the slope. So the number of years it took to double its height? No, the average number. So I don't even have to read any of that. If I know that's the slope, I know it's a rate. So that's the key phrase I'm looking for in the answer choices. Average number of feet that it grew per year. Yeah, that's a rate. Conceptual questions are very easy, but you got to think about what it is. What is the concept that you're looking for here? The slope is a rate of growth. And that's literally what B is telling us. It's the number of feet that it grew per year. That word per, A per B, means that the Y increases A per B. That means Y goes up A for each B value. That means A is like the slope here, per year. Yeah. The height when it was 1 year old, that's the y-intercept, the average number of years it takes to grow 14 feet. Now, we don't know anything about that. So it's gotta be C, or B rather. Number 9, 8D6. Okay, again, we got that same phrasing. It's a constant, ignore that. Infinitely many solutions. What does that mean? Remember, the left is exactly equal to the right, infinitely many solutions. So that means 2x plus 16 is exactly the same as ax plus 8a. And if that is true, then a must be 2. Infinitely many solutions is a common phrase that we can expect to see. Finally, last question for this video that is slightly running long. Number 10, 3b2. We've got kind of a weird thing here. It's just an algebraic manipulation. They want us to flip that over. X over 8 equals 5, 8 over x. It's kind of small for you guys. Zoom in on that. X over 8 equals 5, 8 over x equals what? You literally just flip it over. If you want, you can go ahead and do the algebra on this. So you could do like x equals 40. And then you could say, okay, what's 8 divided by 40? You reduce that. That's 1 over 5. You literally just flip this over, though. And you do 8 over x equals 5 over 1. Or 1 over 5, rather, if you flip it properly. Yeah. Don't overthink it. 1/5. Let's go ahead and check our answers. Going back to the beginning here. Didn't see any standard form, didn't see point slope form, but I'm betting it's going to come up. All right, so for number 1, F for F, we got answer D. 0, F5, we got answer A. BC1, we got answer 40, good. 34D, we got C. 6FA, We got 21. 4A6 is B. And number 7 corresponds answer or question code 94D. Answer D. Number 8 ending code 138 is answer B. 8D6 number is 2, and then we should have 1/5. They would also accept the decimal, it looks like 0.2. All right, very good. As always, if you learned anything, please give a like and subscribe. If you thought of any better ways to do any of these questions, we're finally seeing some actually hard ones here. If you thought of any better ways to do it, or if you know of a better, faster way to do these things, please give a comment in the thing below. Thank you.